we had a few games this year where it wasn't.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't even get back into it. So, where we won 7 games late, the last drive of the game the year before, very rarely were we in that situation this year.
Do you worry about having enough guys who are hungry? Do you worry about having guys who have won a couple of rings and get complacent? Do you worry about that?
I don't have that worry next year because it just happened. It just for us right now to not be in the playoffs, be the Super Bowl champion and not be in the playoffs, if that doesn't bring you down to earth and create the kind of humility that goes along with getting your nose back to the grindstone, I don't know what does.
Did you worry about your team maybe not being humble or hungry this year at all?
Naturally, that crosses your mind.
So it's something you did coach against this year and think about, right?
Oh, certainly.
I mean, did you think you ever had to really challenge him in that department?
I never thought that was going to be an issue with our team. I really didn't. But we certainly left a few holes in our schedule.
No question, and had some very odd performances. As you said, you don't expect games where the Giants aren't competitive. That's something we've gotten very used to. You guys are usually in every game.
Well, that's the way that's how we prepare. That's how we work. That's the consistency factor in our preparation. That's how we earn the right to win. And yet, even in games when I'm glad I'm not a betting man because I would have lost everything. In games in which I felt like, we were right there, and then all of a sudden, it just for whatever reason, we didn't get off to a good start. We didn't rally back. We didn't stop the other guy at the right time. Whatever it might be, I'm sure I'll be hashing these things over all winter. But for whatever reason, some of those games it didn't happen.
Well, the one you looked stunned at the podium was the Baltimore game. You looked stunned that the team didn't play well.
Well, I was. To be honest with you, I really was because I thought we pulled the week together well. We practiced well. We were hungry. We were looking forward to it. And then all of a sudden it didn't happen. And after you come off the one before, you're running out of games. And you've got to get your team in the playoffs. You've got to get there. You can't win it if you're not in it.
It's funny, having been around coaches my whole life, people would never understand that a lot of times coaches are fooled during the week by their team, aren't they? I mean, I've seen that a lot of times through the years. Years where you're worried about your team and they put forth one of those great performances, and another week where you think it's, like at Baltimore, right, where you probably felt you were going to play great and you play terribly.
I did because, quite frankly, I had gotten myself so into this preparation and so into us playing well that that I was I was so my competitive juices were flowing so that I should have made sure that everyone was drug along with me. But you have to remember this: a year ago, Mike, in those last 6 games, I knew exactly how our team would play. I knew exactly that we would play well. I didn't know we were going to win all the time, but I knew we would play exceptionally well.
You knew you were good. Could you sense at any point in this team that they were going to be a hard out if they got? Would your team be a hard out if they got in the playoffs this week?
I think we would. I think we would be. I just, for whatever reason, I may not have all the evidence this year, but I think we would be.
Let me ask you this. Looking at the NFC right now, knowing your experience as someone who has won a couple of Super Bowls and been on staff that have won 3 Super Bowls, what team do you see and say, I like the way they're going into these NFC playoffs?
Well, if you would asked me that question when we came out of Atlanta, I would have said Atlanta. However, that last weekend kind of upsets it a little bit. But you have to remember that the week before we played there, they were upset. They were beat, and I think the combination of us beating them in the playoffs the year before and then losing the week before us, I mean, they were fire was coming out of
They were abused that week in the media too, because everyone said the Giants are going to belittle them again and everything else, and prove that they don't belong in the playoffs. And
that didn't help us.
No, it happens. Listen, sometimes you hit a place at the wrong moment. But which team is there? One out there that you say, I like the way this team is coming into this postseason here in the NFC?
Well, I haven't seen some of the teams of recent, but I would say this to you that, if Justin Smith comes back for the 49ers, I mean, that defense will be very difficult. Let's face it,
What does it tell you that 3 rookie quarterbacks will be playing in the postseason on Sunday?
That's an incredible thing. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how impressive that is, the way that these young quarterbacks have been managed, the systems that they are in, and the way that they have produced for their teams has just been a remarkable thing to see.
You know, you've won 2 Super Bowls. You won one last year. You've won 2 in the last 5 years. No one else in the league has done that. Does it still hurt to be on the outside this year?
Mike, I can't even describe how it hurts. I don't know what to do. I'm walking around here like a crazy man. I am. I don't know what to do with myself. We shouldn't be doing this right now, you know. So the pain of it is almost undescribable because of, you know, your expectations are so high. And matter of fact, it drives you because of the opportunity that you have. The thing that's most difficult to deal with is losing and then being out of it. It's difficult to describe.
And, you know, a coach said to me, Tom, tell me if this is true. Coach said to me that as he got older, the losses hurt more, that maybe it's that you think you don't have that many more opportunities or what it is. Do the losses hurt more now than they did 10 years ago?
Well, I want to add one to it. Not only as you get older, but we're at the top of the mountain. So, therefore, you know, the last thing you're thinking about is losing football games or not being in the playoffs. You're thinking you're going to be there, and so it just multiplies the difficulty in accepting losing, a loss.
Was there a point this year, Tom, with this team where you said, you know what, we got a chance to be something special this year?
You know, it was early in the season, and I thought we were special, and so I never really had to come to that question. However, you know, we had a couple of losses that were pretty devastating, and brought me quickly back to earth as well.
What did the last week and that big win over the Eagles, which I understand Andy was out the door, and you know Andy's going to fall on his feet here, which I know, you know, and it's good for him because I'm glad to see Andy back in the league. But what did that game mean going forward, that they had a kind of a cleansing or at least a W the last week of the season?
Well, it's always important to win, Mike. I don't care when it is. It's important to win. That's what you're here for. That's what you work for. It's just like what you tell your team. Man, if you're not here to win a championship, what are we doing? You know, why aren't we? That's what we do. We're here to win the world championship. That's what we do, and that's why we're here, and that's why we're motivated to do that. So to win any time is an important, very, very important thing. But to win, you know, and then we knew that the risk was very, very high. The chances were that
those 2 games were really close. Those 2 games went right to the wire. I mean, they went right. The Lions had a chance in that game. I mean, those games went right to the wire. They did.
Yeah, they did. They did, but it was too little, too late. I mean, it's our own fault. We had the opportunity. You can't depend or rely on anybody else in this business. You have to get your own work accomplished. And to be honest with you, talking about Andy and his team, I felt his team would come in emotionally because it might possibly be their coach's last game. I have great respect for Andy Reid. He's a friend of mine. I think he's a hell of a coach. I mean, you're talking about a 60% win guy. Where are those guys?
Right.
And so you know, for us, historically, the 2 teams, it was a big game for us, no matter what the situation was. And to be honest with you, in their last 5 games, the Eagles had played well, and they had a chance. And I probably wouldn't be talking to you today. The Eagles had a chance, legitimate, to beat Washington, and they didn't get it done.
No, they definitely were on. They were on the goal line. I mean,
the last play of the game, they had that. You know, the young quarterback makes the foolish error, and they run the 10 seconds off, and they don't get a chance to even throw it in the end zone.
No question. I mean, they were right there knocking on the door. Tom, what'd you tell your team as you gathered this team that won a championship last year? And I know there'll be changes, and there's always changes. You're going to turn the roster over. I mean, it happens. You're going to lose some guys who have resumes and have given you wins. That's part of this league.
It's our game today.
No question. So we know that's going to happen, but you're also going to have a lot of these guys coming back and try to win a championship with them next year. What was your message to them as you sent them on their way this year?
Well, I went over the season, you know, and these guys, the veteran players here have great. I have the utmost respect for these people that have been through this with us and won 2 world championships. But you know, we didn't get it done this year. And you know, there's many things that we have to improve upon, and I basically just talked about our season and the fact that we did have destiny in our own hands, and we didn't get it done. And you know, you got to sharpen the axe. And when we regroup here, the goal's not going to be any different. Win the division, win the world championship. That's what we're here for. And all hands have to be on deck.
next year will be your 10th year with the Giants. Remarkable, because 10 years now is like being 20 years in the olden days. I mean, it's hard to be 10 years with one team. It really is. I mean,
it definitely is.
It's really look at all the coaching changes. I mean, you're going to be going to year 10 with the Giants. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I'm very humble about that, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity that was given to me. And I mean,
well, you've turned it into something special, Tom. You really have. Given when you give your franchise 2 championships in 9 years, that's special. That's all there is to it.
Thank you.
And listen, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. And try to keep yourself busy. You can take the wife to the movies or something. Play with the grandkids.
Happy New Year. That's one I can do now.
Yeah.
They got me running around. So.
All right, Tom.
I look forward to that.
Thank you, Tom, very much.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Coach. All right, Tom Coughlin, back after this.